Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the final International Collaboration webinar. My name is Chantal Harrison-Lee. I'm a mixed race female in my late 30s with brown shoulder length hair. I'm wearing a black top. My pronouns are she and her, and I'll be your moderator for this afternoon session. The purpose of this webinar is to share with you more information about the International Collaboration Grants, inspire you to apply and answer as many of your questions as we can. I'm joined today by some wonderful colleagues and collaborators who are going to share information with you about the fund, the value of international collaborations and the role of the British Council in this work. We're joined by Daniela Gebenlian, Gabriela Nimirovsky from Institute Verda and Yemisi Makulo from Hatch Ideas, who are going to share with you about a recent experience collaborating together through the British Council. Before we get started, I'm going to run through some housekeeping and updates. We have captioning for this webinar. If you would like to use the captioning facility, please use the link that will be shared in the chat bar. There is a Q&A function, so you can ask us your questions as we go through the session. We will have a specific part of the session today where we will answer your questions, but you can keep them coming as we go. If we don't get to answer all of the questions that you have today, we will go through the Q&A later and we'll aim to do an update on our website with any frequently asked questions. And don't forget, in the meantime, you can also email us at collabgrants@britishcouncil.org. We are recording the session and we hope that we'll be able to share this with you on our website very, very soon for anyone who can't join or if you'd like to rewatch the session. We also have 2 international meetups, which we're really excited about, happening on the 20th and the 21st of October. These are opportunities for you to grow your networks and hopefully meet new partners and collaborators to apply for the grant with. More information on our webpage. We are using Teams Live, and just to note that as you'll see throughout the session, we're only able to show one person on the screen, but we do want to let you know that we are translating these sessions into British Sign Language, and these will also be uploaded to our website. I don't want to take up any more of the time on the housekeeping because we've got so many people who want to speak to you and so many of your questions that we want to answer. So I'm going to start handing over now to Bryony Hanson, who is our Director of Film and one of the joint leads for this fantastic programme. Bryony, I'm going to be handing over to you very shortly. I think you've got a presentation also lined up that you want to share with the audience.
There we go. That's my first slide. Hi, everybody. I'm Bryony Hanson. I'm a white woman. I'm middle-aged-ish. I've got bleach blonde cropped hair. I'm sitting in front of a white cupboard, a very large television screen behind me. And my pronouns are she and her. Well, I was going to say I'm so glad to see you all, but actually I'm so glad to know you're all there. I'm in real life the director of film here at the British Council, but in this slightly strange other world, I'm also looking after the International Collaboration Grants programme that we're going to tell you all about today. And I thought just before we start with the kind of headlines of what the fund is, I think it's really worth saying, specifically for the benefit of people who perhaps have never encountered us before, or who've certainly never thought of applying for a grant from us before, just to remind you that, or to tell you that what the British Council is, which is very simply, it's Britain's cultural relations organisation. And that's a quite grand term, but all it means is that we are designed to build trust and provoke conversation between people in the UK and people everywhere else. It's a simple mission. It's a very strong through line in everything that we do. This makes us slightly different from organisations who have other funds that will help artists. So ours is all about using art for cultural relations. We'll come on to what that really means in a moment. But either way, we've got an incredible opportunity here, an incredible fund. We're very excited about it, and we're really excited to see how you respond to it. Everything I'm about to say is on our website, and I presume that a lot of you have already encountered that, and that's why you're here. We've got very detailed information, some very comprehensive, frequently asked questions, a guide to how you apply for the fund, and everything you need is there. But I thought it was very worth just very quickly running through the kind of headlines, really as a prompt for your questions. So if we start with those headlines, the very first one you see there is that very large sum of money. We've got £3.5 million in order to support UK and overseas organisations to collaborate internationally on artistic creative projects. So we're looking to support artists to develop their work via collaboration between UK partners and international partners, and then share that work with the widest possible audience. We're looking for that UK international collaboration to be on a very equal basis and equal footing. And we're looking for new international partnerships, new ways of working, new countries. I think if you wanted to have one through line for this fund to be able to understand, is my project suitable for this fund or is it not? Does it demonstrate the kind of mutual benefit of international collaboration? If it does, stay on the line. We're looking to fund digital projects, face-to-face projects and hybrid projects. We did a very big test case last year for digital projects when everybody was pivoting everything they did into new digital forum. Obviously, as the world is gradually creaking back into life, we're aware that some things are already going on very face-to-face, and that some things will keep an element of hybrid. So we're very much looking for projects that do those three things. And we have small grants available of, say, £5,000 to £20,000, and then larger grants of £20,000 to £75,000. And the five part is really to sort of acknowledge that we want to give opportunities to smaller organisations, perhaps, who might not have worked with us before, who might not have received public funds before. £5,000 is possibly a more manageable amount if this is the first time you're faced with a fund like this. But we also do want to be able to offer, bigger scale opportunities, perhaps to existing organisations, but perhaps those who are working in new ways. It's worth saying as well, there is also a very small chance of scaling up a large project to a £100,000 ceiling. That will be in very exceptional circumstances where the project fits so beautifully into this framework, but we think you could go a little bit further with it. So that is just to put it on the table, just in case you've got a really amazing idea. The projects that we're going to fund should all take place at some point between now and March 2023, so now and the next calendar year. That deadline is slightly flexible. We hope that everybody will be really well underway by that point, but it could be that you are commissioning a new piece of work that perhaps will have a festival edition, that's part of a festival edition that will take place after March 2023. We can be flexible on that. It's just that we want to see a huge amount of creative work happening within the next sort of 12 to 18 months. And the really horrible part of the headlines is that the deadline for your application is the 4th of November, so 3 or something weeks. Not very long, but we hope that we've made the process as user-friendly as possible, and that getting something in for the 4th of November will not be too arduous a task. Okay, so why we're doing it? Really simple, exactly what it says on the tin there. We want to foster UK and international collaboration in a kind of mutually beneficial way. We want to support the arts sector. We know that the pandemic particularly has hit creative industries so hard that the temptation might be for all of you to be getting your house in order in doing what you do in your own country. But we want people to remember the huge benefit that international collaboration can bring to creative people, creative activity. So this fund is designed to kind of help that stay as a possibility. We are building on a fund that we had on offer this time last year, the Digital Collaboration Fund. Some of you may have benefited from that fund. That's totally fine. You can come around again. But obviously that was very much about, in the middle of the pandemic, helping creative artists do something digital to kind of keep their energy up while the pandemic was hitting us all so hard. And we really want the fund to help artists and arts organisations to try new things, to take risks. And it's worth just saying new is important, but it's not actually everything in this fund. So this might be about traditional forms of creative art, but realising them in a new way, or with a new audience, or with a new partner in a new country. It's not necessarily asking artists to reinvent the wheel of their practice. We want to give you a chance to do what you already do best, but just have a new element to it. Talking about the kind of our vision for the arts here, you know, we really want this fund to be a kind of really central plank of the way that we believe that UK and international creative partnerships should be strong, should be mutually beneficial. We want these projects to explore a kind of genuine international collaboration. So, you know, real partnerships that may not really even exist up until this point, but really have the potential to kind of carry you and your work and your practice through into the future. And the future is just as important. We want long-term ambition for all of these projects. This is not a showcase fund. This is not about picking a piece of work up here and dropping it down there and then going away again. This is about genuine partnership to create work which has the potential for, you know, kind of that partnership to roll on and create, you know, a better, bigger project in the future. So we're looking for all the things it says there: international community of diverse creative professionals. We want artists, producers, communities to gain experiences of each other's art, culture, creative exchange. We do want to use the opportunity to sort of challenge the perceptions of how we work, who we are, who we could be in whatever country we are, you know, originally working in. And we're also looking particularly for artists to respond to global challenges, to perhaps address significant contemporary themes, perhaps climate change or other global challenges. And obviously, we want all the projects to demonstrate real inclusion, either in their practice, the way the partnerships work, the way the work is developed, or in what the work says, what it's talking about. So what we're actually looking for here is organisations with proposals that will significantly benefit artists. Practically, we are restricted in this fund in that we have to contract organisations, not individuals, but we want the benefit of the grant to be felt very, very concretely by individual artists, individual filmmakers, individual performers. So projects that make an explicit case for how those individuals will benefit will be really welcomed. We're very much welcoming diverse organisations, artists who haven't worked with us before, or perhaps who haven't worked internationally before. We've talked about new ways, new partners, new countries. We've talked about new themes, diversity, other global challenges, and we touched on, you know, digital projects. We're really looking for digital information and digital innovation, and particularly, I think, key opportunities to adapt physical projects to remote or digital contexts or hybrid, some sort of half and half. We're looking for imagination in how we use digital. And who can apply? Well, hopefully all of you. We're looking for arts and culture organisations in the main. We are looking as well we're open to higher education or research organisations, but those who have an arts and culture focus, okay? This is not so much about science and tech or research for the sake of research. It's where arts and culture is the focus of that work. Organisations have to be registered entities with a business bank account, but you could be a consortia, a collective, a community project, a charity, private, public. You know, we're being as flexible as we possibly can in our interpretation of organisation. And we're really, really looking for as many diverse-led organisations that could possibly apply to do so. This might mean disability-led, this might mean everything. And also very specifically, we really hope that of the UK organisations that apply, we see really significant numbers from outside of London. And also it's worth saying, we can offer some limited assistance to organisations, particularly disability-led organisations, who might be interested in having some assistance in actually completing their application. All the details are on the website there. And while we're looking for equity in the partnerships, which the applications can come from both the UK and the international organisation, but our grants must physically go to the UK partner bank account on condition that that money is going to be split equitably. Talking about the kind of projects, I mean, in a way, there are no limits, except we're not looking for training as such or academic research as such. We are, if it is part of a bigger bigger artistic program, training as part of creating a piece of work, but not straightforward training. We're looking for all the things you can see there: artistic collaborations, so artists working, filmmakers working together, musicians working together. We can fund residencies, people going from there to immerse themselves in a situation or an organisation. Exhibitions, festivals, showcases, salons, conferences, creative uses of archives, for example, and significantly as well, we can fund research and development of future project ideas. So not necessarily fully formed creative projects, but a really good, solid kind of partnership development in order to enable future project ideas. Digital innovation, we've said, and also adapting projects to a remote or a digital context. In terms of the art forms we're looking at, we have a list right here, which includes architecture, design and fashion. We include craft in that. Film, and if film, I mean film image. Literature, so including publishing, including spoken word. Music in the broadest possible way. Theatre and dance, including circus. Visual arts, in all its facets. And then, you know, really specifically, projects involving kind of creative technology, games, immersive, VR, AR, XR, and projects that involve themes that are relevant to the creative economy or that have cross art form or cross-disciplinary sort of rationale. So the intersection between art and science and creative tech. Now, if there is only one downside to this program, because it all sounds pretty good the way I'm saying it, if there's only one downside, it is that we have a limited number of countries and territories that are eligible for this program. There are 46 in total, and any one of those must partner with a UK partner. Okay, there is a list on the screen here. We also have this list on our website. It's a rich group of countries, and it's also worth noting that there are two sources of funds for this programme, and this is partly how this list has been defined. And you don't need to know the minutiae of this, but you should possibly know that for some explanation of why there's a limit, and also how the money will be divided once the applications come in. The two sources of funds are ODA, which is the official development assistance. It's basically government aid that promotes and targets economic and welfare of developing countries, and that's very much linked to certain countries. You can determine sort of probably 2/3 of the countries on this list are ODA countries. We specify on our website which are which. And then non-ODA, which is sort of everywhere else, what we call the developed countries. And the reason I'm making that distinction is because we have the lion's share of the money has to go to the ODA countries, and the non-ODA countries have a smaller percentage. It's in the region of 3 million for ODA, just under 500,000 for non-ODA. And just to give you a shorthand, that the non-ODA countries, should you be interested without going back to the website, are the ones that are in EU Europe, Japan, Qatar, Saudi, Taiwan, and UAE. So those are the countries and territories which are non-ODA. So the reason for telling you is because we will be funding fewer projects relating to those countries than we will to the other countries, in the interest of being transparent. In terms of how much you can apply for, I've already said we have small grants, 5 to 20, and large grants, 20 to 75. And it's worth just noting, spelling out that we have access costs available for people who are delivering projects in addition to those amounts above. So if you're a disabled-led organisation who would like to apply for £75,000 access costs to enable your organisation to put that application together, you can add on to your bid. Everybody else, I mean everybody, we are hoping that we are expecting to see access costs for your project as a whole, particularly in terms of access for audiences, wrapped into the grant that you're applying for. So nearly there. How to apply is very simple. Just go to our website. I think you probably will all have been there in order to get here, but it's just britishcouncil.org/arts. There are preview application questions up there now, and the online application portal actually goes live tomorrow. So you can start submitting your applications. Deadline, as I said, 4th of November. And we plan to tell everybody whether their application is successful by 31st of January. And there is only, it's worth noting as well, there is only one application round for this project. When projects come in on the 4th, they will be assessed by a process which I can outline if you have a question, or it is all detailed on our website. We will make an immediate decision on ones that are yeses and probably nos, but then there will be a middle section where we will need to come back to you and ask for more information. So, you know, but we'll keep you informed as we're doing that, and everybody will know the results by the end of March, 31st of March. And, you know, a key question for this is about the kind of collaboration element, you know, particularly because we've said on one side, you must have a formed partnership. This needs to be an equitable partnership. We need to believe that you and your partner are kind of equally engaged in this programme. On the other hand, we also want to help people who perhaps have not yet had an international experience. So we know that those two things don't necessarily sit comfortably together. However, we have a small way of helping. It is small, but it is the start. And we have piloted this in other programs we've done, and it's been very successful for small scale applications. Basically, next week, we're running 2 international meetup sessions. So this is people who've attended these webinars and other people who haven't, but have just come across us on our website. We will be inviting you to join us. We'll ask you a few questions before you do, where you are, and what art form or art forms your project might cover, and you will be invited to join us. On the call will be like-minded people also looking for an international partner. At a point when we've gone through some explanation, we will set you into a number of breakout rooms, each hosted by an art form. And you will have a chance there to talk to international peers, people who are interested in the same sorts of things that you are, in the hope that you may just find some spark there that helps you determine whether you might or might not want to have an international partnership with somebody in the room. This may not work for this programme, but we hope that we can sort of forge some international relationships for perhaps when we do this programme again, or for other programmes. Spaces are really limited, so you're getting the heads up right now. So the link is on the screen, and I think it will be in the chat bar shortly. The registration will close. The sessions are on Wednesday and Thursday next week at different time periods, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, to try and catch all international time zones. And the registration will close a couple of days before, just so that we can start to kind of match up. I think that might be all I need to tell you. Oh, other than just to say, you know, we know this fund is not going to do everything that you might want it to do. There might be countries that you want to work in that aren't covered by this fund, or you know, you may want to do showcasing or something else that's not about the kind of international benefit of the mutual benefit of international collaboration. We do lots of other things as well. We have an opportunities page on our website, so if you Google britishcouncil.org arts organisations, arts opportunities, you'll find a list of international opportunities. You can sign up to our newsletter. Again, go to the British Council Arts programme page, you'll find it. We're on social, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, British Arts. And hopefully that's given you an overview, and you can fire questions whenever Chantal comes to them. That's me, Chantal.
Great. Thanks, Bryony, and I can tell you already loads of questions. Hopefully we've answered a lot of questions, but we've got some great ones coming through. I'm going to bring on our next speaker now, Rashida Nalamuso, our Programme Manager for Creative Economy in Sub-Saharan Africa. Rashida, a huge thank you for joining us today. I think we're going to queue you up to put your screen live very shortly. It's great that you're joining us, and I think you're going to be speaking and sharing with the audience today a little bit of an example and about why international collaboration is so important and our role within the British Council in enabling this kind of work.
Thank you, Chantal, and welcome everybody. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Rashida Nalumoso, and I'm the Programme Manager Creative Economy based in Kampala, Uganda, working across our Africa region programmes and the UK. I'm really excited about the International Collaboration Grant because of the opportunity of working across art form and the scope that artists and organisations can apply for, from everything to residencies, festivals, research and digital work. I'd like to share insight from creatives who have been part of previous collaboration grants that have been directly funded British Council opportunities, particularly between Sub-Saharan Africa and the UK. The Feminine and the Foreign was a LIFT 2020 collaboration project that brought together LIFT Festival, working with Kenya's Nest Collective and Infecting the City, Cape Town. The project brought together young activists working with feminist, queer and immigration movements to develop a series of film and live digital sharings that brought together live audiences and digital audiences as part of festival screenings and wraparound events. The funding from British Council enabled the opportunity for artists to engage together from across Kenya, South Africa and the UK. And it was really a truly collaborative project in that it kicked off shortly after the beginning of the pandemic and demanded a lot of online collaboration, adjustment to finding ways to work together online. And the support from British Council enabled LIFT to work for the first time internationally with Kenyan artists and bring about a major collaboration with Art Night London and new partners, including ICA Cape Town, which resulted in overall presented opportunities for new partnerships and international counterparts that were a centrepiece for the LIFT 2020 festival, with a great response for audiences, artists, and also a new take on organisational practices for LIFT as an organisation and for their partners. I think the opportunity of international funding is a tremendous impetus and stimulus for creative work, and it can ignite those new conversations that result in long-lasting relationships with different areas across the globe. So I really do encourage everybody on the line to join the international meetup that's happening next week. And we know that the opportunity of what even can come from a small amount of seed funding research, which then might develop an idea and be the start of something smaller, but that could grow into a bigger collaborative project, can really be tracked through a lot of British Council programmes. And the LIFT Festival example that I've just shared is one such example that really actually started with a small research grant and then resulted in a bigger New Art, New Audiences opportunity. So I think that opportunity of also support at different points of engagement is really possible with opportunities that we have like this that are targeting international collaboration. And I do encourage everybody, whether or not you have a partner in mind or you're going to join the networking session next week, to engage in that process with us because it's so fruitful for international creative sectors. And I'm truly excited about this fund. So thank you. I'll pause there and I'm going to pass back to Chantal.
Thanks so much, Rashida. I thought that was a brilliant example that you shared there, really bringing international collaboration to life. And, you know, thanks again for the rallying cry. I think it's really excited about those meetups next week and the opportunity to broker new relationships, but also talking about the way in which that project had to respond, you know, in such an agile and responsive way during COVID. So I think hopefully a lot of inspiration for you all there, as well as a lot of learning. I'm really excited to bring on our next speakers, Danny Yemisi, Gabriela. So we've got Dani and Gabriela from Instituto Verde in Brazil, and I hope my pronunciation has got slightly better than our tech rehearsal, and Yemisi joining us from Hatch Ideas. Now, you all have been working quite, recently on a collaboration, and you came together to do this project, which you're going to outline, on a slightly different fund that we were running at the time through the British Council. I think actually what I'm going to do is we'd have this as a bit of a Q&A session. So, Yemisi, can I ask you first to share a very brief description about the project, how it came about, and why?
Hi, thank you very much. My name's Yemisi. I'm the founder of Hatch Ideas. I'm a lady of African heritage with short hair, and I've got a striped blue and white shirt on, and my pronouns are she and her. And we came together with Dani and Gabriela from Instituto Verde in Brazil. We're based in the UK ourselves. And through the Dice Digital R&D Fund, what we did was we wanted to pull together a methodology on how we could create a game that was going to support creative social entrepreneurs to be able to be more confident and more skillful in their financial management. So the reason we came together is because we have the shared mission to be able to support the development of social entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs, so that they can be really successful as they manage, their business and make it sustainable and grow as much as possible. So this was a perfect opportunity for us to achieve both of our organizations' missions and visions.
That's great. And Gabriela, can I come to you next? It would be great to just hear a little bit more about how you all met.
Sure. Hi, I'm Gabriela Nemirovsky. I am associate consultant from Instituto Verde in Brazil. I'm a middle-aged white female lady. I'm wearing a dark blue shirt, and I have light brown hair in a ponytail, and I'm wearing glasses. We attended one of the collaborative sessions at the time that the British Council organized. And it was very interesting because we left our data in a Jamboard document, and the same happened with Yemisi. And after the session, what we wrote there, it made total sense in terms of helping social creative entrepreneurs, especially females, in the line of work that we hold. And then we decided to approach Hatch Ideas for that. So I emailed her, we organized the meeting, and after that we realized that we had lots in common in terms of our goals and what we wanted to achieve. And we developed a partnership after that session. It was a great opportunity, and attending the collaborative sessions is amazing. It really opens up a new set of entrepreneurs and networking. It's really special.
That's great. Thanks so much. Dani, can you tell us a little bit about how your partnership worked in terms of what each of you brought to the table?
Sure. So my name is Dani. I'm a white female in my late 30s. I'm blonde and I'm wearing a blue top. My pronouns are she and her. We learned a lot with this partnership. We put together, we had a few brainstorm meetings, so we would define what we are going to do and how we are going to work. We brought a few specialists to help with that. So we brought a gaming expert, a finance expert, so we could make it work. And we had a few challenges to learn how to work together at different paces, how to create this partnership, and how to engage participants. Especially, this was a challenge for us. And the language was a little bit of a challenge too, because it's not usual that Brazilians speak English. So we learned how to work together, and it was very important that we learned that the bond we created between us, it was very important to the success of this partnership.
Thanks. You mentioned actually that language, could be a bit of a barrier. I might just take Chair's liberty to add in another question. How did you start to overcome those language barriers? Was there any tips or techniques that you could share with our audience that you found really helpful on that?
Sure. Actually, what we did is, for the sessions we had with Brazilian and UK participants, we had a simultaneous translator, and we used that at Zoom, so we could have people speaking their native languages and trying to make it work. So this is something we had to bring on a translator to help us with that.
That's great. And I think an important consideration actually when you're working internationally is, especially when we're collaborating, bearing in mind our audiences in different languages. Yemisi, I'm wondering if I can come back to you. I'd be really interested to hear what was one of the biggest challenges you faced?
Because it was in COVID, it might not be too relevant now as we come out of it, but it was very much about managing digital exhaustion. And also there's a lot going on in our lives and the lives of everybody else. So what we did was we broke down the experience as much as possible so that you don't have too much time online and you're very mindful about the fact that people's lives are going on around them. And so what I really enjoyed was being able to talk about our personal lives as well, giving space to that so that it didn't feel stressful and it became quite a natural thing. But that for me was, I think will be an ongoing challenge, I guess, as we, continue to work, everyone continues to work in this new set of circumstances.
Absolutely, thank you. I'm going to start wrapping the session up and asking you about, key things that you learned. I suppose, actually, before we do, Gabriella, I'm just wondering, could I ask you, was there anything that you found really unexpected about collaborating in this way?
Well, for me, it was, I think one of the things that I brought to this project was my ability to relate to people, and that's I've worked in human resources in my past experience, and I'm really fond of getting to know new cultures and new people and new experiences. And in the beginning, it was a little bit of a struggle for me, not knowing all the people that we were working with. So I think that was something that I tried to bring along, and as EMZ mentioned, trying to bring on to the project some of our personal experiences, some of our feelings, some of our what we were going through at that moment, because that is really it would be very easy for us just to have a project, a deadline, split the tasks to do, and we would get over with it. But it's not the same thing when you are building a community and a relationship, and especially a partnership that you intend to move on for future projects. Maybe it's very important to try and stop the pace and feel what the other person is facing, what we're going through. And as she said, there were lots of things going around with the pandemic at the time. And when we are talking about digital experiences, that is something that will remain. So I think that adding the personal touch, the communication, and paying attention to the relationship was something very important for me.
That's great, thank you. If you had one piece of advice you could give a collaborator, Gabriella, I'll come to you, then to Danny, then to Yemisi. One piece of advice you could give to anyone who's about to apply for this grant, thinking about an international collaboration.
Because of the different ways of working, I would say try to avoid judgments in terms of relating to the other, and be open-hearted and open-minded to what the other person is bringing to the table, and try to make the best out of it.
Thank you. Danny, can I come to you next?
Sure. I think this, I would repeat Gabriela saying, being open-hearted, be vulnerable, be there. So put everything on the table, be honest, and try to really create a bond in this partnership. It's not only work, but create a real bond with the people involved.
Thank you. And Yemisi, final word, one piece of advice.
Be passionate about the project. Pick a project you're passionate about.
That's amazing. Thank you all so much for joining us. I hope that shared some interesting insights and advice and tips for any of you who are hopefully on the verge of applying. I'm going to come now to your questions. I think you've heard probably enough from all of us. Let's get on with the questions. They are piling up in the inbox. Bryony, I'm going to be handing over to you. I will be asking you the quickfire questions. I've been going through them as we've been kind of going through the session. I'm ready. Wow. Are you ready for a quick fire?
I'm very ready. I've been trying to answer them as they come in, but it's slightly getting out of control now. So go for it. I think there are quite a lot of common ones, so hopefully you've picked those.
Yeah, so let's get started. I'm a small organisation in the UK, a voluntary association with a formal constitution and a UK bank account. Please, can I apply?
Certainly can. Yes, please. Roll up.
Great. How long after notifying successful applicants will the funding arrive?
So everyone will be notified on the 31st of January. There will be a little bit of process, due diligence, kind of legal contract exchange. But we are hoping, well, we have to pay all the grants by the 31st of March. It is very likely that a large proportion of them will be paid earlier. So if your project, we will be looking at people's timelines and obviously prioritising things which theoretically kick off earlier. But the absolute latest is the 31st of March. 2022.
In the grants we talk about needing to have impact on artists. Can I apply with a project which works with archival material?
Oh gosh, yes, please. Some of the greatest projects we've done with the film team actually have been involving, reusing archive material. So yes, absolutely, archive very, very welcomed. The one thing just to keep in mind with all of these projects is don't forget the kind of collaborative element. So, make sure that it's a very explicitly collaborative programme, even if the material you're working with is archive.
Great. We've had some questions about applying in terms of research. So what type of research will we fund?
Anything that is specifically connected to an artistic programme. So it's not a kind of speculative piece of mapping of, the arts in a particular country, of organisations in a particular country, unless it has a very direct benefit or result or impact on an artistic project. If you have a specific that you want to ask a question, chuck it chuck us an email, and we can try and tease out whether or not yours is eligible. I think that when we started to talk about this fund, we were wanting to talk about international experience, international exchange, and opportunities for artists and arts organisations. And when I say artists, I mean filmmakers and musicians and performers and so forth. I think the projects really need to be rooted in the kind of creative act of making a piece of art. But we know that there is some super useful kind of particularly creative economy themed strands that kind of go alongside that will make that artistic project better, or that artistic practice better, more accessible, more comprehensive. So it slightly depends on what you mean, but by all means email us at the Chantal, you'll have to remind me what the email address is.
BritishCouncil.org.
Thank you.
We'll pop it in the chat bar.
Okay, and we can refer to you specifically.
This is about collaboration. Can I apply with more than one partner?
Yes.
So could I have 3 partners?
Have as many as you want. You can have, if the money, we need the money to be split equitably between UK and the partners in whichever countries. It is possible to, and you've seen the list of 46 countries that are eligible for this fund. It is also possible to wrap in partners from other countries that are not eligible for this fund, provided that you are not directing to be crude, cash to them. But you could have sleeping partners or projects that bring something else, partners that bring something else from other countries. But yes, multiple partners absolutely welcomed. The application form itself invites you to give full details of at least 2 partners, one in the UK and one in one of the eligible countries. There is also subsidiary, an extra space for you to detail other partners. So yes, multilateral partnerships more than welcome.
Can I apply if it's a multilateral partnership, but one of the countries is not one of your eligible countries?
Yes, you can. Well, you can, provided that you have an eligible country as your kind of main partner.
Okay, great. I'm going to read this one out. The guideline says projects must address equality, diversity, inclusivity, or environmental sustainability. Please confirm that addressing either equality, diversity and inclusion or environmental sustainability is okay, or if both or all of these areas need to be addressed.
Okay, the guidelines actually say that that we want all the projects to be inclusive, to have inclusion at their heart, and absolutely all the projects should have that. So when I was saying before, please please add access costs for audiences and so forth. So that's a given. Yes, all the projects will have inclusion at their heart. We're also interested in seeing projects that are themed around particular global challenges, and obviously the biggest global challenge we have is around the climate emergency. So we very much look forward to seeing projects which tackle that, either in terms of delivery. Actually, I think all projects should address that in terms of delivery. We want to see sustainable projects. We don't want to see people just, jumping on planes for the sake of it. We want to know, like, so for example, use digital to help make your project more sustainable. But we don't need the theme of all the projects to be about the climate emergency. We know that is a big concern to artists. We know that is a big concern to particular countries, to all of us. So we imagine that we will be seeing a lot of projects that are around that, but not all of them have to be.
Great, thank you. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Is it possible to combine various fundings for the project, like funding from the Goethe, for example?
Very much so, yes, that would be clever. I mean, you haven't got very much time to sort that out, but it could be that you've already got a project that's delivered, that's in development, that you've already sourced some funding for. Yes, please add this funding to something that you've already got. What we wouldn't do is double fund you if you already have money from the British Council. So we won't provide funds for something that has already been funded by us. What we would do is, if it's a project we love and that that will really be an inspirational international collaboration, is say, is there something that you could do to scale up the project that you're doing, that you already had the funding for, to add something really different, to add a new element. So we are pretty flexible about it. You can add match funding, but you don't need to. We will fully fund projects if that's what's needed.
Great. We've had this has come up a couple of times. I know you mentioned it earlier, but for anyone who missed the presentation, is there a specific percentage kind of breakdown of the grant which needs to go to each partner?
50-50. Yeah, equitable. This is I mean, when I was talking before, I said we're looking for genuine international collaboration. We're not wanting people to be just using a kind of partner as a sort of hiding a project with a partner. We want it to be genuine because we want this piece of work to be realised, but we also want you to begin a conversation, start a relationship with your international partner, or continue and develop one if it's one you already have. So yeah, absolutely, it's 50-50.
So just in terms of audiences, is there an age limit for audiences? There's been a couple of questions around education projects, working with young people. Are they eligible?
Absolutely, yes, they're very eligible. We're not going to fund young people to make work. This is not a kind of children's art program, but if you are making work for children or in some sort of collaboration, that's fine. But yeah, there's no lower limit. Also, it's really worth saying there's no upper limit either. We're really interested in projects around aging. You know, when we're talking about inclusion, we mean inclusion. So yeah, so no age limit.
I'm going to read this one out. We are a learning disabled-led company in the UK. In terms of access costs, does it cover the fee of a support worker for the artists?
Yep. Yes, it does. Absolutely. Great. That would be a very legitimate access cost.
Let me go onto my list. When do the projects need to be completed? There are a couple of questions about our timing. So if I apply for this grant, when do I have to complete the work I'm using the money for?
Okay, so the ideal is that we see the grants spent and realised during the financial year, March 2022 to March 2023. However, we are prepared that some projects won't have completed. I mean, a very few might not quite have started. We invite you in your application to put in a kind of, you know, a realistic timeline for what you hope to achieve and when, and then we can absolutely be flexible. But I mean, I think the idea is that we see a huge amount of work happening in the next 12 to 18 months. So ideally within the year up until March 2023.
Thank you. Can a UK organisation submit more than one application?
Yes, they can submit more than one application, but they won't get a grant for more than one application. So we'll only fund one organisation with any project. However, it might be worth considering if you have multiple projects that you're interested in putting together. You know, there's a decent amount of money here, particularly at the kind of top level. Might it be worth you re-looking at your projects and seeing if you can put in one application with multiple strands, multiple partnerships? You know, would that work? Could you make a kind of coherent application in that case? So don't put. You can put lots of little applications in, but bear in mind we will only fund one of them. But it's probably better to think at scale and see if you can do a sort of multi-headed project.
And then in terms of, let me just go through, is there a difference in the focus between ODA applicable countries and non-ODA? Like, do we have a preference?
Well, we don't have a preference. It's just we have more money to spend on ODA. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's, you know, I mean, roughly just shy of £3 million needs to be spent on benefiting ODA countries, and just shy of £500,000 needs to be spent on non-ODA. So we will be funding more projects that take place in ODA countries than in non-ODA. Luckily, there are only a handful of countries on the list which are not ODA. So I mean, we're going to try and balance it. We know that's not ideal. We would like to be able to be, you know, have a kind of open mind about where projects we're wanting to partner, but that is the source of the funding. So that's, you know, we had to take that.
Do we have to be a legal entity at the time of application? I think this is about someone who is interested in and wants to already open a business bank account, but it does take time.
I mean, I'm gonna have to say yes, I think. I mean, yes, you know, the grants have to be paid to organisations, to organisations, and we have taken the loosest possible definition of organisation, which is business bank account. And I mean, I suppose you could apply if it wasn't quite signed and sealed, but we won't be able to pay it if it's not a kind of legal bank account.
Okay. Which is more competitive, smaller grants or large grants?
We don't know. None of you applied yet. The applications haven't. You can't press submit yet until tomorrow, so we don't know what's coming in. I mean, you know, for my sanity and the sanity of the team working on this at all hours, we rather hope that there are quite a lot of large grants, because that's fewer grants to try and assess, fewer grants to action. But actually, I'm also, you know, I am determined, we are all determined that we are going to be working, giving opportunities here to people that we haven't worked with previously, and people who perhaps are not familiar with accessing public funding. You know, we really, really wanted to, you know, kind of make a feature of that when we look back on this programme and we say, oh my God, that programme, it funded this incredible project with these people who'd never done anything internationally before, doing this incredibly innovative thing. You know, I think the likelihood is that people who haven't worked with us before will go for a smaller amount of money. But we can't tell. I don't know. Apply. Surprises.
Now, next question. Do you only fund the total requested amount? Would you ever fund a reduced amount? So would you ever say, well, we won't offer you that, but we would offer you this?
That is a really good question. I think we have done that before. I mean, there's a very tight turnaround with this. So I think we're not, you know, while I have said that there will be certain projects earmarked that we just have to come back and ask for more information. I suppose theoretically, one of those things could be, you know, you've put in an application at too big a scale, and we want you to reduce it. If your question is hiding, should I just apply for the biggest amount I possibly can, knowing that you might knock it down if you like my project, I would say we're going to take everything at face value. I think you should try and guesstimate the real cost of your project and put that on the table. If we then see, there is a question, I think, which asks about scalability. There's an opportunity for you to sort of talk about potential scalability. So, you know, I think it's for you to say in your application, actually, if we do, you know, we can do this project on this amount of money, but if we had more money, this would be the incredible thing we would do with it. But I think in the first instance, you should try and be as sort of truthful as possible, and you know, we are being as honest as possible back to you.
I know we've only got like a few minutes left, Bryony, but I'm just going to try and just fit in a couple more questions. I'm doing the wrap up anyway, so everyone, I'll keep my wrap up brief. Can we include travel and accommodation in our costs?
Yes, absolutely.
We've covered this, but you don't have to have match funding, just checking.
Nope, no match funding.
Can funding requests apply to upgrading accommodation for international artist residencies?
What do you mean upgrading? Okay, so accommodation is an eligible cost, of course. I mean, I think there's going to be a kind of business sense check of applications. You know, is this value for money? Has this person really costed flights at you know, a kind of decent level, etc., etc. So I think if you put an absurd amount of money in for the presidential suite at the Hilton in somewhere, you know, that might raise eyebrows. But I think we're really looking for people to, I think we're just looking for kind of an honest interpretation, an honest projection for your costs. We don't want to waste this money. This is a huge amount of money, and we want to be able to do a huge amount of your projects. So I think we're going to be looking for value for money and sort of realism in budgets. I don't think that quite answers it. Just don't put the presidential suite.
Okay. Okay, last one. If I'm a UK artist, could I put in an application but with an international organisation to work with you?
The UK partner has to be an organisation. This can be a very small scale organisation. It can be a collective, a cooperative, a community group, you know, very, very small, but it has to have a bank account and a name.
As an artist, could I attend your international meetup to hopefully meet an organisation who might want to work with me, who might be in the UK? Awesome.
Yes, you can. Awesome. That would be lovely. Yes, please. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, in a way, it's a long shot, but it's definitely worth coming into that room. You never know who you might meet, and everybody in advance will be invited to sign up that they will be happy for their email details to be shared with international partners. You don't have to do that, but it would be great if you did. So there is a possibility for meeting people either for this project or for the subsequent project.
Amazing. I think that's going to have to be all that we've got time through. I would like to say, Bryony, thank you so much. We got through at least 50% more questions than we did on our Tuesday, so you've been brilliant holding the fort on that. I'm going to start closing the session, I'm afraid. For anyone who's got questions that we weren't able to answer, we will be going through the chat bar. There's nearly 200 questions which have come in, so we're going to go through and look at the frequently asked questions and try and get an update to you on our website. In the meantime, please email us at collabgrants@britishcouncil.org for any questions that you want very quick answers to. Please do get in touch with us. Please don't forget that we've got our FAQs online. We will be uploading the videos online of these sessions in case anyone missed them. And just wondering if there's anything else. Yes, please follow us on Twitter and Instagram @British Arts. And don't forget to fill in the survey. Let us know. We always want to know how we can do better. So please don't be shy, fill in the survey and tell us how we can improve this experience for you next time. That's all we've got time for today. Thank you all so much. We look forward to reading your applications.